A home invasion in Hyannis leads to 2 arrests. A former military vehicle could save taxpayers money, and we get an update from Sandy Neck Beach. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, September 9th, 2014. I'm Sarah Mannel. Barnstable police are investigating a home invasion that took place early this morning in Hyannis. Police Chief Paul McDonald says the incident occurred close to 2 a.m. at 12 Hiramar Road.
Either 2 or 3 individuals approached the house. They knocked on the door. They identified themselves as Barnstable police officers, which is a little unique. The door was then opened. They forced their way into the house. There was 4 individuals in the house. The bad guys, they're armed with baseball bats and they had fake guns. A fight ensued inside the house, and the intruders were eventually driven off, and they fled down Bursa's Way. During the course of the investigation, we have arrested 2 individuals. The first individual was a Josiah Nichols of 940 West Main Street. He was arrested and charged with armed home invasion. The second individual, I just heard on the radio, is being transported into the station as we speak, and they're actively out there looking for the third individual. There was one injury. The homeowner was injured. I believe his name was Martin Littleton. He was transported to the Cape Cod Hospital with some minor injuries as a result of being struck with a baseball bat. Interesting note here, should be noted, this house, 12 Hiramar Road, is the same house that was the target for a search warrant, I believe 2 weeks ago, by the Cape Cod Drug Task Force, the Mass State Police Drug Task Force.
McDonald says it appears the incident was drug-related. Officers were able to apprehend 2 suspects shortly after the incident.
Prior to the incident, there were 2 individuals that the police officers had stopped at the corner of Fresh Holes and Bursa's Way. They identified they did a field interview in it, and approximately 5 minutes after that, the incident occurred, and those 2 individuals were somewhat involved in it, and they were able to give us a description of the vehicle that was involved in the home invasion. And within about 10 minutes, the vehicle was stopped on Route 28, and so that's how the whole thing progresses, because we were already there. We were there just prior to the incident, and the officers took the initiative to stop and do a field interview.
If convicted, those suspects could face 20 years to life in prison. A surplus military vehicle may just save the Department of Public Works some money. Assistant Director Rob Steen says the department bought a used military vehicle, and it only cost the department $10,000.
Obviously, a significant portion of our budget is equipment, and the money we spend on equipment can be quite a bit. If we're talking about a traditional dump truck with sort of 2 axles, you're probably talking about $150,000 to replace that piece of equipment. If you're talking about a dump truck with 3 axles, which are the bigger dump trucks you see on the road, you're probably talking about, upwards of $200,000 to replace that piece of equipment. So we started looking around for maybe better ways to do that, or maybe better ways to use our money. And you may be aware that the military has a program where they sell surplus military vehicles. And there's different mechanisms which they do that. It's called the Dermo program.
Okay.
And the department had previously acquired this vehicle, which is an M939, which is commonly referred to as a 5-ton truck. It's a triaxle dump truck. It's a little lighter than the civilian versions of the triaxle dump trucks. It's a little heavier than the dual-axle dump trucks. It's sort of in the middle. And so we were in the process of looking at budgets and looking at how to try to make these budgets go a little further, saying, well, wait a minute, we're into this truck for very little bit of money. What about if we put her online and try it and see how it goes?
Sure.
And that's how the idea sort of started there, and we started germinating, playing with the idea. And so where it ended up with is we've taken what we commonly refer to as Truck 95, painted it up, we've changed the electric system to be able to handle our communication radios, gotten it ready to go for the winter. We have a plow frame built for it, and we are going to put it on the road this winter.
Steen says if the truck works out well over the winter, the department will consider adding even more surplus military vehicles to their fleet. It's been a busy but good summer for Sandy Neck Beach. Beach Park manager Nina Coleman had an update for the Sandy Neck Board during last night's meeting.
Because our final chick was predated. I was actually surprised it lasted that long. It was a pretty weedy chick that was holding the beach closed. But we, as you know, do not have any flexibility in that, and that chick was lost, and we opened the beach as soon as we confirmed that. So we spent about 4 hours making sure it was truly gone, and then we opened the beach back up in time for the weekend, which was really good. Labor Day weekend was very busy. Certainly the first half of the weekend, as you know, was better than the second half, but again, we had the whole beach open. We had another big weekend for both campers and day trippers. We're now in the off season. The gatehouse hours are 9 to 4 every day of the week, but we have extended hours on Friday and Saturday nights till 9 p.m. Beach is still very busy with this summer weather.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really summer in August, but now it's summer, so we continue to have quite a bit of activity on Sandy Neck. We're staying staffed up as a result. Let's see. Also, other fall goodies are that we're starting the Phragmites removal project. We did treat down by the cottage colony today. That patch by the cottage colony is well under control now and requires very little product just to maintain it. So I was pretty happy to see that. Terrapins are hatching, so we are asking cottage owners to go down at least Trail 2. A few of those cottages you have to backtrack, but we all know our terrapin population is in that first part of the beach, and those little hatchlings are all over the trails right now on a nice warm day. We collected 5 nests this year. They're starting to be due to hatch. None of them have hatched, but we want to accommodate all the students and agencies that we did last year, and I'm hoping to include at least one additional school that requested turtles.
Great.
Let's see, Marsh Trail repair, there's talk. Don't want to make any commitments because it's not my department, but there's talk about doing it in the fall rather than the early spring, which we're always bumping up against bad weather.
Right.
And then street sweeping and then plovers, so we get right, and then you have big tides and that window just keeps closing. So we're hoping to try to open it a little bit and have it on the back side. We're going to look into that. We still have some restrictions because of the endangered species, but stay tuned for that. I'll be able to give more details at the next meeting.
Okay.
On Thursday, August 28th, there was a fire drill at the cottage colony, and Rich was there. I never made it because the camper got stuck. That was in front of me, and I spent 2 hours directing traffic. I hear it went well. We did have staff respond. That was the plan. If it were a real cottage fire, we would have closed the beach and we wouldn't have to deal with all of this access trail mayhem. But because it was a drill, we did leave the access trail open, and therefore had to deal with that. But the response was, it's a long distance. Boats came from both Sandwich and Barnstable, and then overland was.
And it was low tide.
And it was low tide. We definitely made it as hard as possible, and then water and staff came from West Barnstable, and Barnstable as well overland. So it all kind of came together, and I think overall we were very pleased with the drill. It's good to work out the equipment. It's good to put yourself in a hard position by dealing with low tide. That certainly makes it challenging. So.
It's a hell of a challenge. Yeah.
And Sandy Neck, she'll eat up those big, huge vehicles with all those dual wheels right when you need her to behave. So I think that we were able to test all that equipment as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can learn more about Sandy Neck operating hours, discounted off-season ORV passes, and any closures by visiting the town's website and clicking through to Sandy Neck. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program Barnstable this morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will have our Business Barnstable segment. We'll talk to Finance Director Mark Milne, and we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.